Ever wondered about the historical events that shaped the Indian subcontinent? Today, we delve into the story of the Anglo Nepalese War. The mid-18th century was a time of trade and mutual benefit between the British East India Company and Nepal, a nation brimming with commodities such as rice, timber, and gold. However, this era of relative peace was destined to be short-lived. The rise of the Gorkha dynasty in Nepal, beginning in 1767 and culminating in their conquest of the Kathmandu Valley a year later, would set the stage for a clash of titans. The Gorkhas, now the ruling force in Nepal, were about to cross paths with the ambitious British East India Company. The British, with their eyes set on territorial expansion, saw Nepal as a significant trading partner. In an attempt to solidify their influence, the British East India Company established a residency in Kathmandu in 1801. Yet, the growing power of the Gorkhas was a cause for concern. By 1814, British anxieties escalated over a potential alliance between Nepal and the Sikhs in northern India. The company believed that if Nepal could be expelled from its western territories, particularly the Terai region, it would cease to be a threat. In May of the same year, the British forces withdrew temporarily from Nepal to avoid the malaria season. Seizing this opportunity, the Nepali forces attempted to reassert their power, leading to the killing of several company officials. This was the final straw. Warren Hastings, the Governor-General of Bengal, declared war on Nepal, and by September, 16,000 troops were dispatched to invade Nepal. As we stand on the precipice of the Anglo Nepalese War, we witness two formidable forces, the ambitious British East India Company and the resilient Gorkhali army, ready to engage in a conflict that would forever change the geopolitical landscape of the Indian subcontinent. Tensions between the British East India Company and the Kingdom of Nepal were escalating, setting the stage for a significant conflict. The year 1814 marked the beginning of a war that would significantly shape the geopolitical landscape of the Indian subcontinent. A seemingly ordinary year, but one that was to become a turning point in the history of the Indian subcontinent. The Governor-General of Bengal, Warren Hastings, gazing over the landscape, made a decision that would set the stage for a significant conflict. The Gorkhali forces of Nepal, he believed, posed a threat to the British East India Company's hold over the region. A decision was made, a declaration was issued. War was upon them. With the declaration of war, the gears of the British military machine began to turn. 16,000 troops, an impressive force by any standard, were dispatched to invade Nepal in September 1814. The British forces, although formidable, were stepping onto unfamiliar terrain, facing an enemy skilled in the art of mountain warfare. The strategic planning of the British forces was meticulous. Their initial strategy was to launch simultaneous attacks from multiple directions, hoping to stretch the Nepalese forces thin and overwhelm them. However, the Gorkhali forces were no easy adversary. Under the leadership of the Thapa dynasty and the family of Amar Singh Thapa, they were a formidable force, skilled in guerrilla warfare and dedicated to the defense of their homeland. The British forces soon found that their enemy was not just the Gorkhali army, but also the challenging terrain and the harsh Himalayan weather. As the British forces prepared for their first major offensive, the atmosphere was tense. The British troops, trained and disciplined, were ready for the battle ahead. Yet, the Gorkhali forces, despite being outnumbered, were not to be underestimated. They were determined to protect their homeland, to defend their way of life. The stage was set. The Gorkhali army, under the leadership of the Thapa dynasty and Amar Singh Thapa's family, was ready to defend their homeland. The first shots of the Anglo-Nepalese War were about to be fired, marking the start of a conflict that would leave an indelible mark on the history of the Indian subcontinent. The Anglo-Nepalese War was marked by several key battles and campaigns. These bouts of conflict were a testament to the resilience, strategic acumen, and determination of both warring parties, the British East India Company and the Gorkhali forces of Nepal. The first major campaign took place on the Western Front, where the British forces, led by Major General Rollo Gillespie, launched an attack on the hill fort of Kalunga. This fort was strategically significant, providing a vantage point to control the surrounding area. However, the fort was stoutly defended by the Gorkhas under the command of the indomitable Balbhadra Kunwar. The Battle of Nalapani, as it came to be known, was one of the bloodiest encounters of the war, with the British suffering heavy casualties. Despite their superior numbers and weaponry, the British forces were forced to retreat. Meanwhile, in the east, Major General Bennett Marley led an assault on the fortress of Makwanpur. The Gorkhali forces, under the command of Amar Singh Thapa, put up a spirited defense. However, the British forces managed to capture the fortress, marking a crucial victory for the company. It was a turning point in the war, signaling the beginning of a series of British victories. The British forces continued their advance, capturing the towns of Butwal and Jeetgadi in quick succession. The Gorkhali forces, however, did not give in easily. Under the leadership of the Thapa dynasty, they launched several counterattacks, inflicting significant damage on the British forces. The Battle of Jaithak, fought on the steep slopes of the Himalayas, was another significant event. The Gorkhas, under the command of Ranajor Singh Thapa, held the high ground against the advancing British forces. The battle raged for several days, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. Despite the odds, the Gorkhali forces managed to hold their ground, marking another significant moment in the war. The final campaign took place in the Terai region, where the British forces, under Major General David Ochterlony, launched a decisive offensive against the Gorkhali forces. The Gorkhas, led by Bhakti Thapa, defended their positions with courage and determination. However, the superior firepower and strategic planning of the British forces eventually led to their victory. The Gorkhali forces, though outnumbered and outgunned, fought fiercely in every battle. Their bravery and resilience were a testament to their indomitable spirit. The British forces, on the other hand, used their superior numbers, firepower, and strategic planning to their advantage. Despite initial setbacks, they managed to make significant gains, turning the tide of the war in their favor. Despite initial successes on both sides, the war eventually led to negotiations. The battles had taken their toll, and both sides realized the futility of further conflict. The stage was thus set for the signing of the Sugauli Treaty, which would shape the future course of the Indian subcontinent. The war eventually led to negotiations, culminating in the Sugauli Treaty of 1816. This marked a turning point, not only in the Anglo Nepalese War, but also in the geopolitical landscape of the Indian subcontinent. Let's delve into the terms of this significant treaty. The Sugauli Treaty entailed considerable territorial concessions by Nepal to the British East India Company. The Gorkha kingdom was coerced into surrendering vast tracts of land that included present-day Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, and the Terai region. This region now forms a significant part of the Indian states of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. The treaty was named after the town of Sugauli, which was located in the East Champaran district of Bihar, India. The negotiations were long and often tense, with both sides vying for an advantageous outcome. The British, however, held the upper hand, given their military successes and superior resources. The aftermath of the Sugauli Treaty saw a significant shift in the balance of power within the Indian subcontinent. The British East India Company solidified its control over vast territories, effectively expanding its sphere of influence. On the other hand, Nepal's territorial holdings were significantly reduced, and its status was altered from a formidable regional power to a buffer state. This buffer state status positioned Nepal between British India and Qing China, a strategic location that had far-reaching implications. It effectively prevented any potential military alliances that could threaten British dominance in the region. Additionally, it allowed the British to exercise a degree of control over Nepal's internal affairs, a situation that persisted until the end of the British Raj in 1947. With the Sugauli Treaty, the British East India Company underscored its ambitions of territorial expansion and consolidation. It was a testament to the company's growing power and influence in the Indian subcontinent. However, the treaty also marked the beginning of a new era for Nepal, an era characterized by loss, resilience, and adaptation. The Anglo Nepalese War fundamentally altered the geopolitical landscape of the Indian subcontinent. The Sugauli Treaty of 1816 was a pivotal moment in this transformation, serving as a stark reminder of the power dynamics that shaped the region's history. The Anglo Nepalese War, though less known, played a crucial role in shaping the history of the Indian subcontinent. This two-year conflict marked the clash of ambitions between the expanding British East India Company and the Kingdom of Nepal under the Gorkha dynasty. Notable figures from the Thapa family, including Amar Singh Thapa, led the Gorkhali forces with valor and tenacity. The war witnessed several key campaigns, including the British invasion of Nepal and the Gorkhali defense. Despite initial victories on both sides, the war eventually led to the Sugauli Treaty of 1816. This treaty resulted in Nepal ceding significant territories to the British, permanently altering the region's geographical boundaries. The echoes of this war shaped the geopolitical landscape of the Indian subcontinent, strengthening British control over much of present-day India and marking Nepal's status as a buffer state between British India and Qing China. The echoes of the Anglo-Nepalese War can still be heard in the geopolitical dynamics of the Indian subcontinent today. History indeed shapes our present.